The signals return. Commander Ilara Voss stood at the observation deck of the Celestial Searcher, her eyes fixed on the swirling galaxies beyond the reinforced glass. The ship hung in the darkness at the very edge of Galactic Alliance territory, a solitary sentinel in a region few vessels ventured. Ilara's scaled fingers tapped against the cold metal railing, her reptilian heritage evident in her emerald skin and amber eyes that rarely blinked. "Commander, we've detected something." Science Officer Tren's voice broke through her contemplation. The Arvani scientist's crystalline exoskeleton glittered under the ship's lights as he approached. "It's faint, but distinct. A signal pattern we've never encountered before." Ilara turned, her expression carefully neutral despite the sudden spike in her pulse. "Show me." In the command center, holographic displays danced with streams of data. The bridge crew, a collection of 12 species from across the Alliance, worked in perfect harmony, each adapted to their specialized station. Tren directed her attention to the central projection. It appeared 42 minutes ago. The pattern repeats precisely every 17 seconds. His feathered antennae twitched with excitement. But that's not what's remarkable. The signal's composition is impossible. Impossible how? Ilara asked, leaning closer to examine the waveform. "It matches only one known communication protocol in our archives." Tren's voice dropped to a near whisper. "Human." The command center fell silent. Humans, the mythical precursors, the vanished architects of early space travel. They had disappeared from the galaxy over 40,000 years ago, leaving behind only fragments of their civilization and technology that had jump-started a dozen other species' development. The current Galactic Alliance existed in the shadow of their legend. "That's not possible," Lieutenant Kraz rumbled from his tactical station, his massive bulk shifting uncomfortably. "The humans have been extinct since the collapse. Everyone knows that." "Everyone might be wrong," Ilara said, her mind racing. "Origin point." Tren manipulated the controls. "That's the second impossibility. It's coming from the void sector." A collective unease swept through the bridge. The void sector, a region of dead stars and strange gravitational anomalies that had resisted all attempts at exploration. Ships that ventured there rarely returned, and those that did brought back crews often driven to madness. Could it be a natural phenomenon mimicking the communication pattern? Ilara suggested, though she didn't believe it herself. "No, Commander." Tren displayed a new set of equations. "The signal contains mathematical sequences, encrypted data packets, and most disturbingly, fragments of language. Our analysis suggests it's a warning. A warning from a species extinct for 40 millennia." Kraz scoffed. "Even for humans, that would be impressive." "We've decoded only fragments," Tren continued, ignoring the interruption. "But the recurring phrases are clear. Do not follow, and beware what waits." Ilara studied the data, her training warring with instinct. Standard protocol for unidentified signals was clear: report to Alliance Command, and await instructions. But Alliance bureaucracy would take weeks to respond, and by then, the signal might be gone. "Set course for the origin point," she ordered suddenly. "Commander," Kraz protested, "protocol demands." "I'm well aware of protocol, Lieutenant." Ilara's voice was steel. "But we're a research vessel, and this is potentially the most significant discovery in Alliance history. We're investigating." She transmitted a brief message to Alliance Command, knowing it would reach them long after the Celestial Searcher had entered the void sector. Better to ask forgiveness than permission when standing at the threshold of history. As the ship's engines engaged, Ilara returned to the observation deck. The stars blurred as they accelerated toward the source of humanity's ghostly message. She'd studied human history her entire career, their remarkable rise, their unexplained disappearance. They had reached the stars centuries before any current Alliance species, established colonies, encountered other intelligent life. Then, in less than a generation, they had vanished, leaving behind abandoned outposts and mysterious technology. Most scholars believed they had destroyed themselves in some cataclysmic war or fallen victim to a pandemic. Others theorized they had ascended to another plane of existence or fled to another galaxy. But none of these theories explained a warning signal appearing 40,000 years later. Commander Tren had joined her on the deck. The crew is anxious. Many believe the human stories are just myths. Others fear them. The void sector already makes them uneasy. Tell them I understand. Ilara replied, her gaze still fixed on the stars. But remind them what we might discover, answers to the greatest mystery in our history. That's worth facing a little fear. The journey took 3 days, during which the signal grew stronger. The ship's AI worked continuously to decode more of the message, revealing fragments that only deepened the mystery. Extinction was our choice. Beware the transformation. What waits is no longer human. On the final approach, the celestial searcher encountered the first anomalies. Instruments fluctuated wildly. Crew members reported strange dreams, vivid hallucinations of Earth, a planet none of them had ever seen. The ship's power systems cycled erratically. We're being scanned, Kraz reported as they entered the heart of the signal's origin. Something is probing our systems, accessing our databases. Defensive measures, Ilara asked. Ineffective. Whatever it is, our technology can't stop it. Before them loomed a stellar formation unlike anything in Alliance records, a perfect spherical arrangement of dead stars surrounding a central void. Not natural, not by any stretch of imagination. The stars had been moved, positioned with impossible precision to create a barrier, a cage. The signal is coming from within the formation, Tren reported, his voice tight with fear and awe. And it's changing. The repeating warning patterns suddenly ceased. In its place came new data, coordinates, access codes, an invitation. It knows we're here, Ilara whispered. And it's letting us in. Kraz's tactical display suddenly illuminated with alarm. Commander, we're detecting an energy surge from the center of the formation. Massive power readings like nothing I've ever seen. The void at the center of the star formation was opening, revealing what appeared to be an artificial structure of staggering proportions, a space station or habitat that had remained hidden for millennia, built with technology far beyond Alliance capabilities. What is that? One of the junior officers gasped. Ilara's heart raced as she studied the ancient human construction. It's an archive, she said with certainty she couldn't explain. Or a tomb. Or both. The final message from the structure came through with perfect clarity, no longer in code but in the common language of the Alliance, as if whatever sent it had learned their communication protocols in minutes. You have come despite our warning. Now you must learn what we became. Enter and witness humanity's legacy. Ilara gave the order to proceed, knowing that they were crossing a threshold that would forever change the galaxy's understanding of the human enigma. The celestial searcher moved slowly into the opening, swallowed by the darkness between dead stars, drawn toward the last testament of a species that had chosen to leave behind only a warning. As they approached the massive structure, its surface began to illuminate, not with artificial lighting, but with what appeared to be bioluminescence, patterns of blue-white energy flowing like blood through veins. The structure was alive, or something between living and machine. Prepare the exploration team, Ilara ordered. I'll lead personally. This was humanity's legacy, preserved across 40 millennia. Whatever waited inside, whether knowledge, threat, or revelation, Ilara Voss would face it directly, even if it changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about the mysterious precursors who had vanished from history, leaving only whispers and ruins behind. Until now. What waits in the dark? The shuttle approached the ancient human structure, passing through a membrane-like barrier that rippled like water. Ilara led the exploration team. Tren, Kraz, Medical Officer Sora, and 2 security specialists. Each breath felt heavy in the pressurized suit as they docked against what appeared to be an airlock. Atmosphere readings show breathable air inside, Sora reported, surprise evident in her melodious voice. Her translucent Medusan features shimmered with bioluminescence, unconsciously mimicking the structure around them. "Keep suits on regardless," Ilara ordered. "We don't know what 40,000 years might have done to human environments." The airlock cycled with surprising efficiency, as if it had been waiting for visitors. As they stepped inside, lights activated along corridors of material that wasn't quite metal, wasn't quite organic. Something in between that flowed and shifted subtly. "It's responding to our presence," Tren whispered, his scientific detachment momentarily abandoned in awe. "The entire structure is aware." They followed the illuminated pathway deeper into the facility. There were no signs, no markings, just the inexorable pull forward, as if the structure itself was guiding them. Occasionally, the walls displayed images, Earth landscapes, human cities, scenes from a civilization at its peak. Not static images, but three-dimensional projections of such realism that it felt like windows into the past. "These aren't recordings," Tren said after scanning one. "They're reconstructions, being generated in real time for us specifically." After 20 minutes of walking through corridors that seemed to extend and contract organically, they entered a vast circular chamber. In its center floated a sphere of swirling light and data, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. "Welcome, descendants," a voice echoed around them. Neither male nor female, neither mechanical nor organic, but something uncannily between. "I am the Guardian, the last keeper of humanity's truth." "What is this place?" Ilara asked, stepping forward. "The Archive of Ascension," the voice replied. "The record of humanity's final choice and its consequences." The sphere expanded, surrounding them with images, data, sensations. Ilara felt knowledge pouring into her mind, not invasively, but like water finding its natural channel. The history of humanity unfolded around them, not as dry facts, but as lived experience. They'd witnessed Earth's golden age, the solving of climate crisis, the end of disease, the expansion to the stars. They felt humanity's triumphs, its discovery of other intelligent species, its collaborative building of the foundations that would eventually become the Galactic Alliance. Then came the change. Humanity reached a crossroads, the Guardian explained as the images shifted to scientists working with technologies beyond anything the Alliance currently possessed. "We had conquered death, perfected our bodies, expanded our minds. But some believed we could go further, transcend physical form entirely, become beings of pure consciousness and energy." The team watched as humanity divided, those who chose to remain in physical form and those who underwent the transformation process. At first, the two groups coexisted. Then the images darkened. The transcended began to view physical humanity as primitive, limited. They sought to elevate all humans, willing or not. The war that followed nearly destroyed Earth and all human colonies. Ilara watched in horror as the conflict unfolded. Weapons that unraveled reality, planets reduced to ash, entire populations transformed against their will into energy beings that were no longer recognizably human. In the end, the Guardian continued. Those who wished to remain human knew they could not win. The transcended were too powerful, too numerous. So the last human enclave made a final desperate choice. The sphere showed a small group of humans, gathered in a facility much like the one they now stood in. They created a trap, a dimensional prison that would contain the transcended for eternity. And they created me to guard it, to warn any who might accidentally release what humanity had become. The star formation, Kraz realized. It's not just a marker, it's a containment system. Correct, the Guardian confirmed. Within the dimensional fold at the center of this structure exist the transcended, billions of post-human consciousnesses trapped in a state between energy and matter, between life and non-life. For 40,000 years, Sora asked, her medical mind grappling with the concept. How is that possible? Time doesn't exist for them as it does for you, the Guardian explained. They experience it differently. To them, the imprisonment began moments ago. They still rage against their confinement, still seek freedom, still desire to elevate all conscious life. And the warning signal? Ilara asked. A failsafe. If any beings approached this sector with sufficient technology, it would activate, hoping to prevent what you have just done, making contact. The implication hung heavy in the air. They had potentially endangered everything. Have we compromised the containment? Tren asked, fear evident in his voice. Not yet, the Guardian replied. But your ship's presence has been detected by what waits within. They are curious about you, your forms, your potential. As if in response to these words, the structure shuddered. The lights flickered, and for a moment, the sphere of information displayed something else, writhing forms of energy, vaguely humanoid but distorted, pressing against some invisible barrier, countless faces with eyes that burned with inhuman intelligence. They sense you, the Guardian said urgently. You must leave while you still can. Can they escape? Kraz demanded, weapon raised instinctively, though there was nothing physical to fight. Not without help from outside. The containment was designed to be impenetrable from within. But if someone were to interfere with the star formation or attempt to access the dimensional fold directly, another tremor shook the chamber, stronger this time. The images in the sphere began to distort, corrupted by flashes of the energy beings. Your presence strengthens them, the Guardian warned. Every moment you remain makes them more aware of the world beyond their prison. We need to go, Ilara decided immediately. Back to the shuttle. As they turned to leave, the structure shuddered violently. Sections of the corridor they had entered through began to seal themselves. They're trying to keep you here. The Guardian's voice now came from all around them, using their influence to alter the archive's systems. Is there another way out? Ilara demanded. Yes. Follow the blue light path. Hurry. A new corridor opened, illuminated with pulsing blue energy. The team raced through as the structure continued to convulse around them. Through gaps in the walls, they glimpsed the space beyond, and the star formation was changing, the perfect arrangement beginning to shift as forces from within the dimensional prison exerted influence on physical space. Commander, Tren called out, checking readings on his scanner. Energy levels are rising exponentially throughout the structure. If this continues, the containment could fail, Ilara finished grimly. Guardian, can you maintain the prison? Yes, but not while preserving the archive or myself. A choice must be made. They reached a small chamber with what appeared to be a control interface, glowing symbols arranged around a central depression. This is the archive's core, the Guardian explained. From here, 3 options exist. First, I can focus all remaining power on containment, but the archive will destabilize and collapse into the dimensional fold, taking your team with it. Second, I can secure your escape, but it will weaken the containment temporarily, risking partial breach. Third, the Guardian hesitated. What's the third option? Ilara pressed. I can transfer the complete archive, all of humanity's knowledge, history, and my consciousness, to your vessel. But doing so would require diverting power from both containment and the archive's structural integrity. You would have minutes to escape before total collapse. Another violent tremor rocked the chamber. In the distance, something that sounded like countless voices screaming in unison echoed through the structure. They sensed the possibility of freedom, the Guardian warned. They are concentrating their efforts. I cannot maintain all systems much longer. You must choose. Ilara looked at her team, saw the fear and determination in their eyes. The choice seemed impossible. Sacrifice themselves, risk releasing unimaginably powerful post-human entities into the galaxy, or attempt a desperate escape with humanity's legacy, while potentially dooming countless worlds. Guardian, she said finally, transfer the archive to our ship, but include all containment protocols and technology. We'll take what humanity knew, including how they created this prison. Are you certain? The Guardian asked. The knowledge of containment in the wrong hands could lead to release rather than continued imprisonment. We have to trust that knowledge is better than ignorance, Ilara replied. If the transcended ever do escape, the galaxy will need to know what they are and how to fight them. Very well, the Guardian agreed. Placing your hand on the central interface will begin the transfer. Ilara stepped forward and pressed her scaled palm against the glowing depression. Immediately, energy surged through her body, not painful but overwhelming, as if her consciousness was being expanded beyond its limits. Through the connection, she sensed the Guardian's essence, the last echo of true humanity, created to ensure their greatest mistake would never be repeated. Transfer initiated, the Guardian announced as Ilara staggered back, supported by Kraz. Estimated completion: 4 minutes. Estimated time to structural collapse: 6 minutes. I suggest you run. They needed no further encouragement. The team sprinted back toward the shuttle, following a new path created by the Guardian. Behind them, sections of the archive began to disintegrate, absorbed into the dimensional fold at its center. The screaming grew louder, more desperate, as the Transcended sensed the impending change. When they reached the shuttle, Tren immediately connected with the Celestial Searcher. Transfer status: 87% complete, came the response from the ship. But Commander, something else is happening. The star formation is becoming unstable. Through the shuttle viewport, they watched as the perfectly arranged dead stars began to shift more dramatically, drawn toward the center like they were being pulled into a black hole. The Transcended are making a final effort. The Guardian's voice came through their comms, now distant and fragmented. They hope to use the gravitational collapse to break free. Will they succeed? Ilara asked as the shuttle disengaged from the rapidly disintegrating archive. Unknown. The original containment was designed to use the stars as anchor points. If they collapse completely, the Guardian's voice faded to static. The shuttle raced back to the Celestial Searcher, barely clearing the outer membrane before it dissolved entirely. As they docked with the main ship, the archive collapsed in on itself, folding inward like paper being crushed in an invisible hand. Transfer complete, the ship's AI announced. All data secured. Get us out of here, maximum speed, Ilara ordered as she rushed onto the bridge. The Celestial Searcher turned away from the collapsing star formation, engine straining as space itself seemed to warp around them. On the view screens, they watched as the stars were drawn into the central void, creating a swirling vortex of stellar matter and energy. Then, just as they reached the edge of the void sector, there was a flash of light so intense that all sensors momentarily overloaded. When they recovered, the star formation was gone, replaced by what appeared to be a new star, blindingly bright and perfectly stable. What happened? Kraz asked, staring at the readings in disbelief. The Guardian, Ilara realized. It converted the entire containment system and the Transcended within it into a new form, a star. The ultimate prison. Tren scanned the newly formed star. It's like nothing in our records. The energy signature is, I don't even have words for it. Is the containment holding? Ilara asked. As far as I can tell, yes, Tren replied. But this star should be studied from a safe distance. I wouldn't recommend anyone approach it again. As the Celestial Searcher continued its journey back to Alliance space, Ilara accessed the first portions of the transferred archive. The knowledge it contained would revolutionize their understanding not just of humanity, but of consciousness, technology, and the very nature of existence. It also contained warnings, detailed accounts of how ambition and the desire to transcend natural limitations had nearly destroyed one of the most promising species the galaxy had ever known. When they finally reached communication range with Alliance Command, Ilara prepared her report. How could she explain what they had discovered? That humanity hadn't gone extinct, but had evolved beyond recognition. That some of them had become so dangerous they had to be imprisoned by their own kind. That the prison still existed, disguised as a newborn star. In the end, she decided on the truth. The galaxy deserved to know what waited in the darkness if the prison ever failed. They deserved to know about the warning humanity had sacrificed everything to leave behind. As she transmitted the first data packet containing the Guardian's historical record, Ilara gazed out at the stars, now seeing them differently. How many other species had reached the same crossroads? How many had chosen transformation over limitation? How many more might face that choice in the future? The last message from Earth had waited 40,000 years to be heard. Now it would echo throughout the galaxy for generations to come, a testament to humanity's greatest achievement and their greatest mistake, a warning that some boundaries were not meant to be crossed, and a reminder that even the most advanced civilization could fall to its own ambition. Somewhere in the depths of the ship's systems, the Guardian's consciousness stirred, adapting to its new home, preparing to continue its eternal vigil. The transcended remained contained for now. But as the Guardian had warned in its final moments before the transfer, nothing was truly eternal, not even a prison built by humanity at the height of its power. Someday they might return, and the galaxy would need to be ready.